All right, with you guys, let's get started again. Nick had said that he had some issues that he wanted to bring up, and so I want to turn them, I guess, the mic over to Nick to make his motion or make his suggestion what he wants to do, and then see if he gets a second, and we'll go from there.
He's a movie actor.
Okay. This has to do with,
Is your mic on, Nick?
what I need to do is sit closer to the mic.
Okay.
It's on, but I have a tendency to sit too far back. It's on pages 14 and 15. On page 14, that arrow that talks about rural trails. I want to strike that entirely. We had this discussion Mr. Westerlund brought up several meetings ago that Measure C is a transportation measure and should not fund recreational trails. Also, but there may still be a need for trails in unincorporated areas. And also, last meeting, there was talk about a facility proposed between Parlier and Reedley. And that was a project that was submitted to COG's Safe Routes to Schools project, submitted by City of Parlier to build a facility adjacent to Manning Avenue, so people can bicycle from Parlier to Reedley, go to Reedley Community College. So strike that paragraph on page 14 called Rural Trails, and add new verbiage on page 15. That you see on the top of page 15, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 circles. Add a fifth circle.
Here.
Add a fifth circle, the following verbiage. Class 1 bikeways in rural areas that link rural communities and or cities shall be built in accordance with the California Highway Design Manual, Chapter 1000, Bikeway Planning and Design.
Pick up the rural.
Because that way, those would be transportation facilities. Once again, referring back to Mr. Westerlund's comments several meetings ago, those are point to point. You're linking communities, and these are the transportation facilities, not recreation facilities, and it should be built as transportation facilities, Class 1 bikeways.
Okay, so I can just summarize this if it's all right. Basically, elimination of recreational trails is an eligible expense of the Measure C, number one. Number two, allow for trails built between rural communities as long as they meet state standards as cited by the statutes that I'm not going to recite that Nick mentioned. So that's a quick summary of what you're saying, right, Nick?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Gail's a second. Any discussion? Yeah, Chuck.
I kind of like to see it in writing because he's all over the page and I got lost halfway through.
I'll say it again. Number one, eliminate on page 14. There's a section there, an arrow on rural trails. Eliminate that section. In other words, rural trails would not be eligible for, I'm sorry, recreational, excuse me. Recreational trails would not be eligible for Measure C funding. However, on the next page, at a fifth bullet point, top of the page, there are 4 bullet points, at a fifth bullet point saying that you could use Measure C funds for rural trails between rural communities. Is that correct, Nick?
Yeah.
Pursuant to state standards.
Yeah, build that trails that link rural communities, be they incorporated cities or unincorporated communities.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they must meet state highway design manual.
So Chuck, does that meet you understand what the proposal is, the motion is, and the second?
I think so.
Okay. One second. Go ahead, Lena.
So just for clarity, on the second one, trails, he's actually asking for specifically for Class 1 bike lane as opposed to Class 4, which is the strip along the road.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a huge
Class 1.
expense for that.
Well,
much distance.
he's not requiring any mileage. He's just saying it's an eligible expense. In other words, if, was it Reedley? What was the other community you said they were connecting? There was
Parlier and Reed.
But if I understand it.
Parlier
right-
and Reedley, if they want to do that, they could use their funds to do that.
But what I'm understanding is it has to be a minimum of class one, not just a.
Yes, that is correct.
like,
Yeah,
I don't-
correct. My specifying class one bikeway.
Okay,
Would be-
yeah, Larry.
Yeah, appreciate your comments and thoughts on this as always related to trails. So I was okay with the rural trails. I didn't think rural trails equaled recreation trails. It is, am I
Well,
got that wrong?
It says in the current language, it says rural trails, what is it, the third sentence? Rural trails will typically be recreational in nature. That third sentence is problematic because, we're talking about, if you're defining rural trails as recreational, the answer is, what I'm hearing from Nick, the answer is no. If you're defining rural trails as connecting to communities, the answer is yes.
So I was okay with point to point if you called them rural trails. I just wasn't in favor of recreational trails. So I don't see the third sentence, but I guess I'm
Well,
missing it.
That's the motion. We have a second. Any further discussion before I go to Andy?
Typically- Oh, yeah, typically.
Veronica, good.
I have a quick question, Nick. When you say for the fifth bullet that you want to add around, when you say point to point, does that, you use the example, the Parlier to Reedley example is the Manning Avenue trail? I think that's the one you're talking about.
That's, well, two things caused me to come up with this amendment. First of all, Mr. Westerlund's comments several meetings ago that this is a transportation measure, not a recreational measure.
Mhm.
And number two, the discussion one or two meetings ago about the proposed project between Parlier and Reedley. And that was a point to point linking two communities. And therefore, it came with this language is that would, as a transportation function, I made it broader that you link any two rural incorporated cities or to include any unincorporated community. Now, I specified, class one, because it happened to fall under the discussion of class one facilities. That's the reason I ended talking about class one. But the jurisdictions that have the option, under other provisions of the implementation guidelines, to either build bike lanes along Manning Avenue or class 4 along Manning Avenue, if they so chose. But I wrote this amendment as class 1 because it fell right underneath this particular section.
Okay.
So I did not mean to exclude, because they could do class 2 or class 4 under other provisions of the implementing guidelines.
Yeah, I understand. That's not my concern. My concern with eliminating we just voted on the 70-30 proportion, the proportional ATP requirement, that if it's point to point in some small rural areas or even unincorporated areas, a trail network is a walkability or a mode of travel within a single community. And my concern with your amendment, if I'm following you correctly, is that then that would not be possible unless it is a investment that is connecting one or more communities, whether that's incorporated or unincorporated. And that's my concern with your proposal. Because I don't think that all rural trails are recreational in nature. In small rural communities and even in small cities, some people look at walking paths or trails that could be built out that allow people to move from homes to a bus stop, from homes to a community center, from homes to a park, if it exists. So I don't want to, I would not be in support of striking that language. And then my concern with your bullet amendment is that then you would, if I'm following, it could be that I'm not understanding you and you can explain that to me. If it's a point to point, then that would make it ineligible, wouldn't it?
I think though that Nick, I think the point was connecting important destination centers. So it doesn't need to be necessarily city to city. It could be within a city to a school or to a job site.
Yeah, and my concern with that is that not all communities have those amenities because of poor planning. So in some communities, a path to a bus stop, whether that's a school bus stop, could be
I think that would qualify. I would think that would qualify.
to see the language also put up like we did the other.
Yeah, well,
language.
I don't have an electronic form. Actually, I just wrote it basically 2 days ago, and I did not forward it to the COG in electronic form. When I wrote the language up, I was thinking in terms of going from one community to another community. That's what I was thinking in my head. One community to another community.
You know what? Can I make a suggestion to move things along?
The thing is, your thought would be, you may not want to go from one community to another community. You may want to, because your destination may not be to the next community. It
Can we-
may be
Nick,
to
can I make
some
it-
point between.
Nick, can I make a suggestion? Maybe if you just struck that, say, Measure C funds will not be used for recreational trails, period. And that way, if it's a rural trail that connects other things, it's not just purely recreational. And I think the example has been used, frankly, is Lost Lake that goes around in a circle. It doesn't go anywhere. That's not appropriate for Measure C funding. It's recreational. But if, just strike recreational trails, and if it's a short trail that goes to a bus stop or to whatever, it would still qualify. Does that satisfy your concern? Just take out just say recreational trails are not eligible for Measure C funding. Recreational trails specifically.
Basically, you're saying is drop that paragraph, but I'm recommending dropping.
So like the Reedy Trail.
The way it reads, it simply says the rural trails are not required to be class 1 facilities. I mean, that's the first sentence.
And he's saying that they should be. My understanding is Nick's saying, yes, they should be, number one. And number two, it says typically they're recreational. So just to make it clear, to say, listen, the group doesn't want Measure C funding for recreational trails. Other utilitarian trails, fine, it's transportation alternative, but not recreation exclusively.
But that doesn't, then that doesn't address the point about whether they should be class 1, is my only.
There's two things, there's two issues there. He
Okay.
thinks it should be class 1, and number two, he thinks it shouldn't be just recreational. So.
Yeah, you're right. I think once again, trails in rural areas that serve a transportation function purpose should be class 1. They should meet the standards of chapter 1000, the HDM.
I
Uh,
have it pulled up if you want to see that definition.
I don't know if we need to see the definition so much, because it's just an explanation of what a class.
The way they word it,
I think the more important question is the two issues that I think Nick is trying to bring up, and that is, number one, he doesn't want recreational trails to be funded, and number two, those trails that are built to state standards, and they're class 1. That's, I think, what Nick is trying to say. So, Nick, is that a fair representation of what you're trying to say? Sorry for getting you with something when you're.
Repeat what you just said.
I think what you're asking is two things. Number one is you don't want to see Measure C money used for trails that are simply recreational.
Correct.
And number two, any trails that are built are going to be built to class 1 trails are going to be built to state standards.
Yeah, if they serve a transportation purpose,
Well,
yes.
that's okay, Greg.
I think that should be 2 motions, separate.
Okay. All right. Lee.
Doesn't this proposal require separate jurisdiction not related to either community to then expend funds for the trail? Like the county of Fresno, who has jurisdiction between the two cities?
I didn't quite understand what you're saying. Please repeat.
Doesn't this proposal to connect Parlier and Reedley require the county, who has jurisdiction between the two cities, to expend the funds
No,
for the?
If I can jump in, Nick, for a second. Hold on one second. I don't think that that's required, because remember, connectivity is an important part of this measure. And if Reedley and Parlier are trying to do a trail and they need county support and there's a gap there, then they don't have connectivity. And I think it would be a problem in terms of getting funding because they don't have a complete trail. They have a partial trail, I think. So I think, Lee, that's addressed by, you'd have to have the three jurisdictions, the county and the two cities, agree this is what we want to do. And as an eligible expense, it's not a required expenditure, it's an eligible expense.
Yeah, this amendment does not require that facility be built. This, I would simply be using it as an example of the type of facility I'm talking about. But you're right, this simply says this type of rural trail, this is kind of rural trails I'm talking about. That was merely an example.
Just go ahead, I'm counting.
So it'd be
Mark.
permissive.
I'm sorry.
It would be permissive to allow them to work together.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
it's not requiring them. It does not set aside funding. It simply says if you're going to build a trail that links these kind of communities, build it to state standard. And this does not address Veronica's concern. If you want to build a trail that does not link two communities, what happens then?
Well, I think you fall back then to the guiding principles, and the guiding principles are connectivity. They're talking about connectivity. So I think that if you have an incomplete trail, you have to make an argument. Well, why are you building if it is a trail to nowhere? Does it connect people? So I think that's the issue. So Larry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation and the debate on this. I would agree on, like Mark's suggestion, we strike out the recreational language in there that I did see. I think it really should be left up to the jurisdiction to figure out whether it's which type of trail it is, whether it's a 1 or a 4. And with that, in an effort to kind of move us forward and not backwards onto trails, I'd call the question.
Okay. So Nick's proposal was take out recreational trails, take out that sentence. And number 2, add a 5th bullet point saying that rural trails.
Yeah, class 1 bikeways in rural areas. I can read it again.
Yeah, please read that 5th bullet point again, please.
I just want to make sure we're consistent. We asked Evelyn to put it in writing on the screen so everyone can see it. So if you could give your piece of paper to staff so that we can put it on the screen, that would be helpful.
It shouldn't take that long. It's
Yeah, a lot easier.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this will give you a chance to finish your dinner if you haven't finished it yet. They're seconds, so now's your chance.
You know what we need? I may be dating myself now, but when we were in school, we had those little projection things. They would write on those little clear
Right,
sheets.
overheads.
That's
Yeah.
what we need right
Yeah.
there.
Anybody got an overhead? Then you got to read people's writing. That's the.
I use those for 20 years teaching.
Who's typing that up? Is that Brenda typing that up? Okay.
No.
They should have done that. It was great. The only reason why I knew about it.
Fresno State?
My ag teacher went to Cal. So. Never met me in San Diego.
So you came from San Diego all the way to do it? Yeah. You know what? Yeah. It's they let Kalinga just,
Wow.
yeah, you know what? It used to be a Bowling College. They moved it up. They tried to move it.
They were trying to do that for years. They found out
Holy
they found
smoke.
out it was West Hills College.
Yeah.
And then you read it, West Hills College. And I think they.
Bet it's not in his job description.
When you sign up for the class, like, okay, well, I'll take this class. That's at West Hills College. Even though I thought it was here, I thought it was there, at the opposite place. So they probably decided to rename it to clarify which campus you're going. Are you gonna? Is the only thing I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, the way they were doing it was like 65% of the money.
It's up on the board. You want to take a look at it? So 2 things on Nick's motion. The first one was strike the sentence on recreational trails. And the second was to add this as a 5th bullet point on the next page. So why don't you take a moment to look at that? And did we have a second on that, on your motion, Nick? I can't remember if we had a second.
Yeah, there was.
Is Larry going to be a second? Who's going to be?
I was.
Are you right?
Gil.
I didn't hear one. I did not hear one.
Okay, I think Gail just said she'll be a second on this motion. So take a look at this. And so this, we're voting on two things, taking out that one sentence on recreational trails on page 14, and then adding this fifth bullet point on page 15.
Yeah, that's what I want.
What's the second bullet?
This is the fifth bullet point on page 15. This would be added as the fifth bullet point.
Oh.
So it's right here. Yes, yes, are we ready? Any further discussion? So we have a vote on, okay, by the way, some people have left. So we gotta figure out how many people we have now left. So just count off 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't have to count, but just 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9,
11,
12, 14,
15.
18, 19,
20,
21.
22.
25.
Okay, so one person left. 25, okay. And with that, call for the votes. Just say yes. I'm sorry.
I have a question. I'm just trying to understand the implication of the use of the word and or, I guess, class 1 bikeways in rural areas that link rural communities and or city. That still doesn't address my concern about then the definition, unless if someone wants to explain it to me, that's fine, is this wouldn't allow for a bikeway within a rural area. It would have to link to another jurisdiction or another community. That's my concern. No? That reads and or, so that link rural communities and or cities.
Well,
those have to comply with this, but it's optional to do that at all.
Right, but then that's the way it's defined. It's in the guidelines. It falls under the definition.
Say that they cannot.
Right. Right. I would read that, I mean, communities is a fairly broad term. I would read that as you could still do it within a community. I mean,
Okay. If I'm feeling.
so, okay, is that,
Was this one mine?
that one's yours? Yep. Do you want to, we're calling for the vote. So just say one yes. The no's don't have to necessarily vote. We just need the yeses. So how many yeses we got here? So we'll start here.
1, no.
Yes.
That's one yes. Good.
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
7,
8, yes.
9,
yes,
10,
yes,
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16,
Yes.
17,
Yes.
18,
Yes.
19.
no,
Okay, 20 yes, the motion passes. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over. The last thing to do on roads, and we've done with the road category, I believe, is Artie wanted to talk about, had a
Yes, well, we did pass something last week, a motion that I had. Talking to some folks, we wanted to clean up some language, still the same message. But,
yeah, what page you on, Artie?
it was in the motion that I made last week, but I didn't see it written down on the new updates.
That should have been on the new updates. Robert, can you help us with that?
I believe we're talking about page 20 under other requirements. It's in green
Okay.
toward the
sorry.
bottom third of the page.
Right, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. So that's what we passed last week on page 20 in the green. Thank you, Robert. What we wanted to do was replace the word infill with mixed-use zone districts, because that actually adds a little more clarity, because apparently infill could mean anything within the city limits.
Say they get mixed use?
Mixed-use zone districts.
Zone districts, okay.
Instead of infill. And we want to have the term deed restricted in the affordability section. So I can make a motion.
Everybody wants it typed up and put
Oh,
on a.
yeah.
Can we take this, which we have currently, and maybe the staff can just add the addendums to it, and we can then put it up on the board for
Yeah.
everyone?
district.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's the The mixed use zone districts really allows for specific usage of these Measure C dollars along corridors. So transit, it's even more transit connected in clarity. And then the deed restricted is so that we can assure affordability within any development that happens with housing along those Measure C.
So question, point of clarification on that, is the deed restricted, are we kind of going back to the language that we had before? Because
It's
The-
not exactly the same, no. I can read it off as soon as I get my.
Where is
paper
deed
back.
restricted going? Where in that, do you remember?
The second part.
is it replacing okay, it's okay. Because it says that are, yeah, it's supposed to be deed restricted, but are we keeping the extremely low, very low?
There's elements of that, yes.
Okay.
Once it, let them just put it up on the board, probably the easiest, just let them get it typed up.
Brenda, are you adding that? Okay. This is page 20.
That is the new language there. Yes.
Where he's talking about.
Yeah. It's.
You know,
right
as,
there.
as a suggestion, as we're waiting for this to be typed, if you have a proposal,
He would place.
you might want to type it up and put it on your phone so they can bounce it to staff, so they can put it on. So we can move this along a little more quickly. So if you're thinking you might have a motion,
Yeah, let me read it. I
Write it
have
up.
it on my phone, so.
please.
A local jurisdiction may use existing neighborhood streets and roads program funding to support transportation infrastructure and other costs to enable housing in mixed use zone districts within existing neighborhoods. The jurisdiction shall ensure that the developments are mixed income and include deed restricted units affordable to lower income households. Lower income means 80% AMI and includes low income 50 to 80% AMI, very low income 30 to 50% AMI, and extremely low below 30% AMI.
Bounce that to Brenda, maybe she can just.
She's typing it right now.
Well, in the future, it might be easier just to expedite things. It's just bounce that to staff, bounce it to Brenda, and she just takes it off her email and puts it up as opposed to retyping the whole thing. Now, the good news is we're moving things along. So this is hopefully, I don't know, it's, I think, the last category under roads, and then we'll go on to transit.
And I work as a adjunct professor. Oh, okay. Yeah. It was. It was booming. I mean, there was. We build them more, we below the resource. Some of the significant evidence of shall ensure. Started taking classes at fire. Okay. I don't know if you've seen that. Nice, but it's not. Little work. We could have.
Okay, that looks like it's accurate.
Okay, everyone, take a look at the overhead and
Affordable median income.
okay?
Or, yeah,
So take a look at this, and Artie's making this as a motion.
median.
And once you have a chance to read it, you can, someone, if they want to second it, they can second it, and then we can go for discussion and a vote.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, who is that?
Amber.
Amber, okay. Okay, with that, any discussion on this before we turn it over to a vote? Not seeing any, let's go for vote and just counting again, 1 yes, et cetera.
1 yes.
2 yes.
3 yes.
4.
Yes.
5,
6 yes.
6,
7.
7 yes,
8 yes.
8 yes,
9 yes.
9, 10 yes, 11 yes, 12 yes, 13 yes, 14 yes,
15.
16.
16 yes,
17.
17 yes, 18 yes. Okay, yes. Okay, 20 yes, it passes. All right, so I believe we're done with roads.
Yay.
Yeah? Okay, so with that, we can turn now to transit. I believe, is that what you had?
So, yeah, that's next. I do want to point out to the committee, again, these are all recommendations that are going to, the timeline, they are going to be going to our, Transportation Technical Committee tomorrow, and our Policy Advisory Committee tomorrow. They may have their own recommendations. The way this is going to work is, what you changed tonight is going to be included in the draft guidelines that will be added. The comments that we receive tomorrow from our committees will be, recorded, but they're not going to be added to the document. Okay, but they will be recorded and they will be delivered to our policy board, in addition to everything that has happened here. And we will be going through this process with the board as well to point out, the highlights. And then the board will vote, and then all of this is subject to legal review. The process has been so dynamic that we have not yet run it thoroughly through legal review. So do want to point that out. Okay, but getting to the public transportation major comments. Let me get back to my PowerPoint here. Okay. So most of the comments here in this category had to do with the metrics. So if you begin on page 22, we had comments starting with the 15-minute frequencies in urban areas and calls for that metric to be interpreted as requiring high-frequency service on key urban corridors, but not necessarily for every route, generally speaking, as warranted by ridership demand or need. For rural areas, comparable travel times to personal vehicle use, comments that this metric is not attainable. Enhancing accessibility by reducing the average distance or time it takes to a bus stop. Comments that request clarification on how the distance will be calculated. Uh-oh, I'm dead here. There we go. Increase in microtransit. Oh, I did want to call your attention to, also, there were a couple of comments that I guess were omitted in the original listing. That's why we redistributed the two sheets that had public comments, and there was a comment on this one, an additional comment that is now in here under this one. Increase in microtransit and on-demand transit services across the county. Comments that this should be handled on a case-by-case basis. Again, kind of an aggregation of the comments that we received. Reducing travel time by reducing the average trip duration. We had comments that requested clarification on how the metric will be measured. Whether it's, for example, are we talking about an in-vehicle trip, the origin to destination? What is the metric? And then for rural areas, that the trip durations really can't be reduced because of the high mileage traveled. The metric, improve public transportation supportive infrastructure by increasing the number of bus stops that meet ADA accessibility standards. We had comments that this requirement is already addressed in federal and state law, although there are some stops that do not necessarily meet full current standards, and that right-of-way must be available to support that. Okay. Brenda, I'm dead. There we, let's see. Nope, it's not letting me advance. There we go. Increase the proportion of multimodal, access points that are ADA compliant, and increase bicycle, sidewalk, and pedestrian facility infrastructure leading to bus stops. Comments that this really belongs under public streets and roads. The category public or existing streets and roads rather, because these are public works projects. These cannot be instituted by transit agencies. Increasing accessibility of schools, population centers, employment centers, and other services with multiple modes of transportation. Comments that public transportation providers already offer this kind of accessibility and that the metric should not assume deficiencies, and also that good faith partnerships are required to meet this goal. So in other words, it's not just on the transit agencies themselves to attain this. Increased opportunity for community residents' participation representative of Fresno's geographic and demographic characteristics. Calls to clarify what is defined as sufficient participation, and notes that federal Title VI requirements address language and other demographic issues. And then I think finally that the metric or this is not a metric, but before Measure C funds are allocated to public